Hello, hello, welcome everybody. I'm Jev. Yes, Triple V. The accent, by the way, is purely Kiwi. I read old stories for children, so we keep this a family-friendly channel by having bad word blockers, banning bots, and preventing spam. So that means new followers need to wait a few minutes before they can join in the chat. Since these stories are so old, they're now in the public domain, which means they are free to read for anyone and by anyone, the way many Christmas songs are. The digital versions I read are from Project Gutenberg, and you'll find the link for that below. The physical ones are just old books my family has lying around. Sometimes I'll even show them to you. These, by the way, are live reads. Think of them as bedtime stories rather than actual audiobooks. You get the benefits of my mistakes, distractions, explanations, and terrible attempts at accents, along with plenty of chat and interruptions as we find out about things in the story. If you need to do work or chores, then that's fine. Just come and lurk. Please adjust your volume to suit. There are captions available if you have to be quiet or you have hearing challenges, but be warned, sometimes the captions aren't always that accurate. I am a member of the Codex, an awesome group of reading streamers on Twitch. People from many walks of life who share their love of reading, and you'll find links to the Codex reading team and our Discord server below. A special feature of the Codex Discord is the security channel for those of you who stream or moderate. You'll find lots of practical, useful information to help keep your stream and your community safe. So, hang around and come discover adventure with me. You never know what we'll find. Hello, everybody. They're going. Yay. I thought I'd forgotten to turn on the captions. So, welcome, everybody. Lovely to have you here. I'm not sure how well the green screen's going today because I was making some slight adjustments and then accidentally clicked the wrong place and had to redo it all from scratch again, which is why you've got twinkly things over in the corner here, which is where Quest Sprout is in the old chair. So, yeah, that's just one of those things. How are you? Are you doing well? I hope you have been looking after yourself. How's the weather been where you are? It's been horrible here. Usually, as an ex-boatie, someone who spent a lot of time on boats when I was growing up and also in my adult life, I was very, very familiar with the usual New Zealand thing of you go out on the boat for Easter weekend because it's a long weekend, it's 4 days instead of 2, and it's going to be wet. Well, this year was lovely until Easter Monday, and I watched a lot of yachts not in the modern usage term, which means large motorboat, privately owned. No, yachts being the little sailing boats. I watched a bunch of those. Hi, Joltair, great to have you here. Oh, watch streak of 30. Excellent. Well done indeed. So on Easter Sunday, usually they don't start leaving where we are to head back to their moorings in the city, and they don't usually start leaving to go back to the city until late on Sunday night or on Monday and make it just a quiet day going back and getting back to the city in time to be able to clean up and put everything in the wash. So they're all ready for the work week, that sort of thing. But they were leaving on Sunday, not late afternoon. They were leaving mid-morning to lunchtime. I was like, it's a bit strange because it was beautiful weather. And then on Monday, we had this really bad weather. It was windy and rainy. What's today? Wednesday. Oh, I don't know why I'm looking at the chimney. It's Wednesday. It says it up there. So, yeah, we've finally got nice weather again. Goriki, Easter boating, not the first thing in my head, although I did one year when I was so little. Eggs would fall out of my basket when I picked a new one up. We didn't used to do egg hunts, but that was just our family. I don't know if other Kiwi families do Easter egg hunts or not, but we were just given our eggs. And it meant that if we were away on the boat, we had them already. I have a big memory to do with Easter eggs. My first Easter on a boat, it was Mum and Dad and me and an aunt and uncle who were with us, and we had been on the boat, and then we were going to go from this sheltered harbour out around that part of the island and then through a narrow passage between the island and the mainland, and then sail across a lot further away to another much bigger island, which meant we were going to cross some weather. And I had been hooking into my Easter eggs on Easter Sunday morning, as kids do. I mean, I think I was 4 or 5, not a lot of self-control back at that age. And I had also been saying, oh, fun waves, because going out through the passage, because it's narrow space and the weather is pushing the water through because the wind is blowing in that direction, so the waves start to get bigger. And I was enjoying that until I wasn't enjoying it. Yes, it was a bit messy. So, yeah, maybe that's what's put me off a lot of extra sweet things. But, yeah, definite memories. And also one of my brothers spoiling the whole concept of the Easter Bunny for me by when we were in the dinghy rowing out to the boat with various bits and pieces on board too, because it was a little boat that we were going to be sailing on. It wasn't particularly big, like a small old-fashioned caravan that you pull behind a car. And so you don't leave everything in it. You take your normal stuff from home, like blankets and pillows and things like this. And there was a brown paper bag there, and my ADHD brother went, oh, what's that? No impulse control. It was like, see something, have to do it right now. And so he reached out and pulled something that was in it
and pulled out my Easter egg. Yeah, that was it for Easter Bunny for me. All over. I think my brothers, who were significantly younger than me, just sort of let that one get forgotten so they could keep enjoying it. I'd still got Easter eggs, but whatever. So did you get chocolate? Did you get Easter eggs? What Easter traditions do you observe or celebrate in your household? I'm not going to say your family, your household, where you live. Let's have a quick look at the chat and then we'll do a tips video. So yeah, it's been an interesting. I know I didn't speak about this on Monday, but then most of you weren't here. It was a very quiet stream on Monday because everyone was obviously off enjoying Easter eggs with their families, or whatever it is you do at Easter. What do you do at Easter? Tell me. I don't know. I've told you before that traditional holiday celebrations in my family, I've always thought that we do the same thing and it's boring every year, but I've actually thought it through and no year has been the same as the previous year. They always vary so much. Anyway, I'm going to read through these. Hi, Shu. Lovely to see you. I just saw your comment. Hello, lovely. Lovely to see you here. Goriki affirms Joltaire and says they are a beautiful box of pizza. If it's pizza, it's a beautiful box. We all want to see that box of pizza, don't we? Yum. And Goriki affirms Shu, saying that she is a glittering rainbow. And Joltaire says that Goriki is an excellent unicorn. Oh, top marks, Goriki. Well done. Not edible though. No, don't eat the unicorn. And Shu says that Goriki is a glowing rainbow. Another non-edible. Lovely. And Shu says, I worked so hard Sunday so I could have Monday free and then I lost my stream streak. Oh no. I'm so sad to hear that, Shu. Yeah, I understand. It's like you're doing really, really well. You're collecting the whatever it is you're collecting. Stream attendances in this case. And then it's like it's like, oh, sad. Goriki says, as long as the toppings are within my dietary range. True. Yes. It's really sad when you grow up being able to eat whatever you want and then you get to a certain point in life and sometimes it's because of just changes to you because as you get older you do change. Hello. Sometimes it's because of different life circumstances, so you get extra exposure to things you didn't previously, and sometimes it's just it seems so random, but you go from things that you can enjoy to suddenly no, just don't even think about it. Thankfully, hopefully not to the point of anaphylactic allergic reactions or even just normal allergic reactions. Anyway, right, I think that's a big enough ramble. How about we have a tips video, who we can have today? I don't know. I'll unmute myself. And thank you so much for the subscription, Night Writer. I really, really appreciate that. It is lovely to have you here too, by the way. And may you have had a wonderful Easter. I really hope you have. Yeah, I won't start my ramble again. I'm notorious for recapping to the point of actually just re-saying the whole thing instead of just touching on some points. So I'm not even going to go there. Thank you also to Void Android for the oh, and Shu has just subscribed, and thank you, Night Writer, for gifting that. That is so wonderful. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate that. I hope that was okay for me to say that. It's in my chat box. Doesn't say it was anonymous. So yeah, really, really appreciate that. So that's lovely. Thank you. I'm giggling because of the fact that my brain is just gone. Yeah, we don't have a hooray one, unfortunately. We need to start writing down what all these potential chat commands are. I haven't. Yeah. Right. I'm sure there was something I was going to say. Let's turn off the credit up there. Right. I think that's it. I've got some things that I need to go and change in my automatic things that happen, like comments and things. One of the ones that I think I've still got that comes up is if someone follows me, they are still told that they get a 10-minute cooldown, and I need to take that part of the text out of there. You don't have to go and follow somebody just because there is a shout out about them. The reason we shout some people out is because we love them very much and we are sharing their channel, because not everybody thinks to go and have a look at somebody else's. If you feel that they are a good fit for who you want to watch or spend time with in some way or another, then please feel free to follow them. I am not telling you you have to. I am not asking you to follow me and I will follow you. No, we don't do that sort of thing. Follow for follow is not a good idea. And yes, Snoopy Dance is another one that we should also have a command for. Right, do I have anything interesting to drink? Yes, I do. And it involves me digging out a glass because I have lemon and pyro, also known as L&P. And yes, I am showing the brand. This is promoing New Zealand here in this situation. But other than that, I won't be showing it to you. I'll just be drinking it from the glass. It's a pale amber, I suppose you'd call it. It's not as yellow as pea. Goriki's doing a bunch of different dance emotes. Excellent. So we are having some of this. And no, it is not chilled. It just sits under my desk. I can't actually handle anything super cold. I like it cold, but I don't have a fridge up here to put it in. I have a fridge right at the very bottom of the stairs, which is where I usually put my energy drinks when we get home from doing the groceries. If they're on special, I put them in there. Yes, it does look like apple juice, clear apple juice. It has a lot of that sort of look to it. It doesn't taste anything like it though. It's more lemony. Paeroa is a place in New Zealand, southeast of Auckland. It is a small town and there were mineral springs there, and so lemon and Paeroa was lemon juice and Paeroa mineral water, and that was actually, I think, the first locally created fizzy drink in New Zealand. These days we have the energy drink. We invented that one, which is why apparently Red Bull has to work hard for their part of the market. They have the advantage of being product placement in international media, like movies and TV things. And Monster gets a lot of that sort of thing too. And they sponsor sports and all that sort of stuff. But V has about 60% of the market share in New Zealand in a few years back. So, yeah, the others have to work pretty hard for it. They don't have as big a flavour range, unfortunately, but they're gradually getting there. So there, that's it. I have water. We have a shame water bottle for when we feel that, yeah, the book is really shaming people inappropriately. We have a snow keyword water bottle. And look, that is where we got to on Monday's stream. I'm trying to put it where you can see it. That line there, I drank down to there from a full bottle for Monday's stream. I just decided I was going to fill it up again and just leave a mark where we got to. And we can compare each day's stream maybe if we feel like it at some stage. And we got to there on Ghost. So they are our two keywords, plus we also have the shame one. I hope you've got your water ready, because you're going to be drinking water every time I drink water. And also you might want to rush off in the next ad break, which is soon, and quickly go and have a pee and empty your bladder, because you're going to need to, probably. Because this story has started in wintertime, and it's about 2 sets of fraternal twins. That means that they are not absolutely identical, which explains why they're allowed to be a girl and a boy at birth within each set of twins, because identical twins don't do that. And we're getting to know them because this is the first book in the Bobbsey Twins series, and it was published in 1904. So it's one of the early Stratemeyer Syndicate ones. They're still establishing their pattern. Southeast of Auckland sounds like a lesser-known Quentin Tarantino movie. Well, it's actually, if you travel from Auckland to Thames, which is New Zealand Thames, it's a small town, you will probably go through Pyroa. They have a big one of the early version of that bottle as a big, like a statue type thing, and people go through there on the way through to Thames or Coromandel Peninsula or somewhere like that, and they will stop and get photos of themselves with this giant soft drink bottle thing on the side of the road. You can find pictures of it online. So look up Pyroa, Paeroa. It's a Maori name. And let's see if it's actually on the bottle so I can show it to you how it's spelt. There you go. Pyroa, Paeroa. Good lemony stuff is the tagline. Right, let's get on with reading. Definitely sounds like a Quentin Tarantino, doesn't it? I need to unlock it. And I realised that the reason why, even though I charged it up completely last time, it's now at 73%, is because when I had downloaded the book, I'd forgotten to turn off the Wi-Fi afterwards. Thankfully, it didn't flatten it completely, unlike my tablet would have done, because it wasn't doing lots of internet traffic, but still not as much battery power in it as I'd like. What have we got going on? There's no cat on the chair. Here you go. I have to do it this way. You've got these dudes sitting on the chair instead. Pest Sprout, that's the one over there, the purple one. And Pest Sprout and Quest Sprout. Quest Sprout is actually pale green. Looks very bright at the moment, but that's just because I can't actually set the colours to his genuine colours. Yeah, that's another one we should have. You did do Quest, I think. Quest. Swords, that's what it was. The yellow on his tummy starts to blank out as part of the green screen, and I don't know why. And thank you for following Weird World. It's lovely to have you here. Just ignore the bit that says chat quarantine is only 10 minutes. Oh, bother. I'm going to write this down in chat because it is an ad break. Right, there you go. That's done. Now I can turn off the Pest and Quest Sprout, turn off studio mode so I just have one video window in front of me. Lovely to have you here. Sit back and relax. Make sure... Yeah, remind me, everybody else, to talk about it once we've actually finished the ad break. Or if you are subscribed, then maybe you can type it into chat so that Weird Build Studios actually knows what the story is for how we handle things around here. I think that's it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I think we can get on with reading. Just checking my other monitor in case there was anything else I was needing to action straight away. No, we are up to chapter 8, Fun on the Ice. We are reading the Bobbsey Twins or Merry Days Indoors and Out, because the early Stratemeyer Syndicate books often would have a subtitle to them. And this is the first book in the Bobbsey Twin series, which is the longest series of Stratemeyer Syndicate books. In fact, probably the longest series of children's books for a long time. There were 75 books. 75. That's a lot. So yeah, that's why they didn't age the kids up through the stories. The first few books they do actually get a little bit older, and then at a certain point they just said, right, no, they're not getting any older anymore. So let's carry on. We are going to read chapter 8 of Fun on the Ice. Oh, the fight is going to start. That's right, the boys were getting ready for a snowball fight, which is why we were drinking so much water. Oh, yeah, we're out of the ad now. If you are new here, if you are unfamiliar with us, actually, I'm just going to run the tips video, one of the tips videos, and we'll see what this is, things you can do to make the most of your time here, which includes making sure you've got water to drink. So here we go. That's very short. Just stick with me for a minute.
Hello, and welcome to the stream. I'm Jev. Now, let's talk about our 6 things to enjoy the stream. Number 1, get your drink. It can be water, whatever you like, but, take care of yourself and hydrate. Number 2, when I hydrate, you should as well. Did you hydrate just now? Number 2, get snacks or maybe a whole meal. It depends on your time of day and your own habits. Again, take care of yourself. Be hydrated and eat what you need to eat. Number 4, get comfy, whether it's cooler or warmer, just something to cuddle perhaps. But be comfortable. That's also important. It's good physically and mentally. Number 5, have something to write with and write on. It can be paper, it can be anything you like. Memo, post-it notes, whatever you like. This advert not associated with post-it notes in any way, shape, or form. Disclaimer. Now, sit back, listen, and enjoy. Feel free to engage in chat. Do the puzzle over here or, down there somewhere. Play Jev Bingo. I do silly things like, I do silly things. Or you can spend pages and make me wear silly things like funny ears, like this one. Have a good stream.
Goriki's saying, facts, streamers can't count. And has also redeemed the settler of Hem and Haw. This happens from time to time around here, folks, which is all good. I love the fact that the centre of the wheel has totally... Yay! Has corrected itself so the tips of the ears aren't cut off now. Is that the right? Yeah, that's the right way. There you go. This is the Totally Not Goriki headband. Just like Totally Not Goriki had in the tip video. Yeah, hooray indeed. I hope somebody is writing down all of these commands that aren't actually commands so that we can actually come up with making some for use here. Because if it's something that you would go to use as a command, we might as well make one. Now let's turn on the egg timer and then I will get reading. Egg timer. There's the egg timer. The egg timer is going to run for 6 months. Not 6 months. 6 minutes. Words are hard sometimes, by the way, folks. 6 minutes. And then you'll know all about it when it's finished. So here we go. That's right. The kids were getting ready for a snowball fight. Make sure you have your water bottles ready. I do hope you have been to the loo because your bladder will thank you for it afterwards. Definitely. Here we go. Chapter 8, Fun on the Ice. Oh, the fight is going to start, cried Nan. Nan is the older of the two girl twins, in high excitement. See them coming up the hill. Will they shoot? Asked Flossie, just a bit nervously. She's the girl from the younger of the set of twins. Of course they won't shoot, answered Freddie. That's her twin brother. Can't shoot snowballs, and yes, I'm doing snow in the compound words, which is why snow is such a popular word. I shouldn't have done it, should I? But there you go. Ain't got no powder in it. The attacking party was still a good distance from the fort when those inside let fly a volley of snowballs. But the snowballs did not reach their mark, and still the others came up the hill. I need to count better, don't I? Now then, give it to them, cried Bert. He's Nan's twin. And let fly his first snowball, which landed on top of the fort's wall. No, if I could throw them. Soon the air was full of snowballs, flying one way and another. Many failed to do any damage, but some went true, and soon Bert received a snowball full in the breast and another in the shoulder. Then he slipped and fell, and his own snowballs were lost. Okay, hands up everybody who has been hydrating every time we have had snow in the text. I have. Have you? Let's keep going. The attacking party got to within 50 feet of the fort, but then the ammunition gave out and they were forced to retreat, which they did in quick order. Just as well it was, I don't know what the people in the fort are going to do when they run out, because maybe start digging up the walls? No, don't have to drink yet. Hurrah, they can't take the fort, cried those inside the stronghold. One of the things that makes me laugh about this whole scenario is the fact that it seems to be an unwritten rule with Stratemeyer Syndicate books that you are not allowed to have the same word twice within a paragraph, maybe even 2 paragraphs. They do some weird workarounds where the phrasing and the word usage is rather awkward or clunky, just so they don't reuse a word. And in here, it's like snowball, 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 snowball. So they've just ignored that rule. But normally, yeah, it's very noticeable. Let's carry on. Hurrah, they can't take the fort, cried those inside the stronghold, and blew their horns more wildly than ever. But their own ammunition was low, and they made other snowballs as quickly as they could, using the pile of snow in the middle of the fort for that purpose. That's the pile of snow that's holding up the flag. Back of the barn, the attacking party held a consultation. I don't understand the phrasing, back of something. Why isn't it behind the barn? It just always feels awkward in my New Zealand version of English. In my New Zealand version of England. No, English. I'll carry on. I've got a plan, said a boy named Ned Brown. Let us divide into 2 parties, and one move on the fort from the front and the other from the back. A pincer movement. Then if they attack one party, the other party can sneak in and climb over the fort wall and capture the flag. All right, let's do that, said Bert. Waiting until each boy had a dozen or more snowballs, half of the attacking force moved away along a fence until the rear of the fort was gained. Does this mean that the guys in the fort can't see them going wide? I don't know. Then with another cheer, all set out for the fort. It was a grand rush, and soon the air was once more filled with snowballs, much to the delight of the spectators, who began to cheer both sides. "Oh, I hope they get into the fort this time," said Nan. "I hope they don't," said another girl who had a brother in the fort. And now at this stage, if you've got these guys coming from outside the fort on it from both sides, they're also going to be throwing past the fort and hitting each other. Friendly fire, anyone? Inside the fort, the boys were having, just as well we didn't choose fort, the boys were having rather a hard time of it. They were close together, and a snowball coming over the walls was almost certain to hit one or the other. And Shu has redeemed the circle of alternatives. And what is this? Because it's called something different every time. What is the circle of alternatives picking for us today? Hearts. It's cute. It's not top knots, but it is cute. So that's this one. We will have that one after I take this one off. Thank you, Shu. I do appreciate it. I hope you guys do too. Itchy nose. Sorry. Oh, yep. Time is gone. Time to take this off. Turn off. Sorry, that got caught in my hair. Turn off the timer. Clear. There you go. Quit stalling. Yeah. Are you writing all these down, or are you just making them up and expecting everyone else to write them down, Goriki? Right. I'm going to have to sit even lower. So you've got the colour of the background doesn't work very well with these, does it? Anyway, we're here. We're here. Right. They were close together, and a snowball coming over the walls was almost certain to hit one or the other. And I did drink that one, I think. So we're going to carry on. More than this, the pile of snow around the flag was growing small. They should be scraping up the snow that's falling as snowballs. So the flag was in great danger of toppling over. Up the two sides of the hill came the invaders, Bert leading the detachment that was to attack the rear. He was hit again, but did not falter, and a moment later found himself at the very wall. Oh, turn the timer on. Here we go. "Get back there," roared a boy from the fort, and threw a large lump of soft snow directly into his face. But Bert threw the lump back, and the boy slipped and fell flat. Then, amid a perfect shower of snowballs, Bert and two other boys fairly tumbled into the fort. "Defend the flag! Defend the flag!" was the rallying cry of the fort defenders, and they gathered around the flag. The struggle was now a hand-to-hand one, in which nothing but soft snow was used, and nearly every boy had his face washed, and I'm guessing that means grabbing a handful of snow and just rubbing it over someone's face. I don't know. Sorry about the nose itch. It's just one of those things. "Get back there," roared Danny Rugg, who was close to the flag. That's the bully guy. But as he spoke, two boys shoved him down on his face in the snow, and the next moment Bert and another boy of the invading party had the flag and was carrying it away in triumph. "The fort has fallen!" screamed Nan, and clapped her hands. "Hurrah!" shouted Freddie. "The forters are beaten, aren't they?" "Yes, Freddie." A cheer was given for those who had captured the fort. Then some of the boys began to dance on the top of the walls, and down they came one after another until the fort was in ruins and the great contest came to an end. The fort was built out of snow. For those who were not here on Sunday, for most of you. "It was just splendid," said Nan to Bert on the way home, "just like a real battle. Only the band didn't play," put in Freddie disappointedly. "Real soldiers have a band. They don't play fish horns." Fish horns? Fish horns. Fish don't have horns. A horn that's shaped... Strange. "Oh, Freddie," cried Flossie, "they weren't fish horns, they were Christmas horns." It's all the same. I like a band with a big fat bass drum. Can somebody please enlighten me? What is a fish horn? It must be something similar to a Christmas horn. I don't know. I like a band with a big fat bass drum. We'll have the band next time, just for your benefit, Freddie, said Bert. He was tired out and glad to rest when they got home. More than this, some of the snow had gotten down his back, so he had to dry himself by sitting with his back to the sitting room heater. Danny Rugg was terribly angry that we captured the fort, said he. He is looking for the boys who threw him on his face. Of course he is. He's the bully. I don't think he's going to get permanently dealt with, as in stop being a bully. I think he's going to continue to be a slight issue in every story, or most of them. It served him right, answered Nan, remembering the trouble over the broken show window. A horn that produces a loud and penetrating sound used by a fishmonger to announce that the catch is in. Oh my goodness! So not a horn shaped like a fish then, unless it's purely for promotional purposes, obviously. I have never heard of one of those before. It makes sense, though. Yeah, if you sell fish, you want your customers to know that you have fresh fish has just arrived. So that does make a lot of sense. Oh, well done. Well done, Shu. Thank you. It served him right, answered Nan, remembering the trouble over the broken show window. The second fall of snow was followed by steady cold weather, and it was not long before the greater part of Lake Metoka was frozen over. As soon as this happened, nearly all of the boys and girls took to skating, so that sledding and snowballing were, for the time being, forgotten. I don't know if Metoka is a real place, Metoka. Wiki doesn't have images, so I'm not sure. Yeah, no, I can understand. So somebody else, not Shu this time, can try finding out if Lake Metoka is a real place, Metoka. Metoka. Thank you, captions. Trying to spell it so that they can recognize it. Right, let's carry on. Skating and sledding instead of snowballing. Both Nan and Bert had new skates given to them at Christmas before, and each was impatient to go on the ice. But Mrs. Bobbsey, so that was when they were 7, they were given skates. Okay, obviously it gets cold enough there to have that as a normal thing. But Mrs. Bobbsey held them back until she thought it would be safe, because it's very dangerous if you're skating on natural ice. You don't know if it really is safe yet or not. You must not go too far from the shore, said she. I understand the ice in the middle of the lake and at the lower end is not as firm as it might be. And also, if you get really involved with what you're doing, if you're excited and having fun, you actually forget just how far you've gone, especially because you go a lot further, a lot more easily on skates than you do on foot. Freddie and Flossie wanted to watch the skating, and Nan took them to their father's lumber yard. Here was a small office directly on the lake. Sorry, I'm just going to turn off the really loud noise for you guys and the egg timer visual, and take off hearts. Thank you, and thank you to Shu for redeeming that. I'll just put my cushion back because it's a lot more comfortable. That's better. The gas strut on my chair doesn't work anyway, so I like the slight increase in height that this gives me for the angle that my legs are at. So Nan took them to their father's lumberyard. Here was a small office directly on the lakefront where they could see much of what was going on and still be under the care of an old workman around the yards. So obviously father has said that this guy can actually have that as being something he's currently doing. Keeping an eye on the kids. Nan could not skate very well, but Bert could get along nicely, and he took hold of his twin sister's hand, and away they went, gliding over the smooth ice, much to their combined delight. "Some day I'm going to learn how to do fancy skating," said Bert. "The Dutch roll and spread eagle and all that." "Okay, that's cool. I have no idea what those terms mean." "There's Mr. Gifford," said Nan. "Let us watch him." The gentleman mentioned was a fine skater and had once won a medal for making fancy figures on the ice, which is probably where that sort of description is where the term figure skating has come from. It used to be about what you were drawing on the ice with your skates, I guess. They watched him for a long while, and so did many of the others present. "It's beautiful to skate like that," said Nan, when they skated away. "It's just like knowing how to dance everything." "Only better," said Bert, who did not care for dancing at all. Presently Nan found some girls to skate with, and then Bert went off among the boys. The girls played tag and had great fun, shrieking at the tops of their lungs as first one was it and then another. It was hard work for Nan to catch the older girls who could skate better, but easy enough to catch those of her own age and experience on the ice. She's also going to be getting better just by playing with the others on the ice, because she's concentrating on what she wants to do, where she wants to be, rather than just the mechanics of skating. The boys played tag too and snapped the whip, as it is termed. All of the boys would join hands in a long line and then skate off as fast as they could. Then the boy on one end, called the snapper, would stop and pull the others around in a big curve. This would make the boys on the end of the line skate very fast, and sometimes they would go down to roll over and over on the ice. Once Bert was at the end, and down he went to slide a long distance when he bumped into a gentleman who was skating backwards, and over went the man with a crash that could be heard a long distance off. "Hi, you young rascal," roared the man, trying to scramble up. "What do you mean by bowling me over like that?" "Excuse me, but I didn't mean to do it," answered Bert, and lost no time in getting out of the gentleman's way. The gentleman was very angry and left the ice, grumbling loudly to himself. Down near the lower end of Mr. Bobbsey's lumber yard, some young men were building an ice boat. Bert and Charlie Mason watched this work with interest. "Let us make an ice boat," said Charlie. "I can get an old bed sheet for a sail if you'll get your father to give you the lumber." In New Zealand we would call it timber. "I'll try," answered Bert, and it was agreed that the ice boat should be built during the following week after school. And that's the last page of the chapter. And I'm going to have a drink of my drink. Chapter 9. Freddie loses himself. Christmas was now but 4 weeks away, and the stores of Lakeport had their windows filled with all sorts of nice things for presents. Nan and Bert had gazed into the windows a number of times, and even walked through the one big department store of which the town boasted, and they had told Freddie and Flossie of many of the things to be seen. "Oh, I want to see them too," cried Flossie, and begged her mother to take her along the next time she went out. "We want to go too," put in Freddie. "Bert says there are 16 rocking horses all in a row with white and black tails. I want to see them." He's 4, as is Flossie, in case you're wondering about the voices. "I'm going to the stores tomorrow," answered Mrs. Bobbsey. "You can go with me after school. It will be better to go now than later on, when the places are filled with Christmas shoppers." Yes, get in early for your Christmas shopping. In fact, people, start looking for your Christmas presents now, when there's sales on earlier in the year. Things that other people wouldn't have thought of. If you see something and it reminds you of a particular person and you think it would be relevant for them, and it's on sale, get it now. Tuck it away in a place that is only used for that, Christmas presents. And somehow give yourself a little note somewhere, maybe not on it, but in your note app on your phone, that says you've got it and who it's for. Life experience here. You find something and you go, "I know this was a present for somebody. Who was it for?" Or you forget you've even got it. If you've got it all written down in one place on your phone or wherever, and you read through your list when you're panicking, "Oh, I haven't done any Christmas shopping," and you see what it is, you'll go, "Oh, hang on a minute, I'd forgotten I had that." And then you go and look for it or find it. And That's a whole lot of Christmas shopping I don't need to do because I've already got it. So there you go. Get in early before the Christmas shoppers get in. Mrs. Bobbsey is telling us to. The twins were in high glee, and Freddie said he was going to spend the 25 cents he'd been saving up for several months. "Let us buy Mama something for Christmas," said Flossie, who had the same amount of money. "What shall we buy?" That question was a puzzling one. Flossie thought a nice doll would be the right thing, while Freddie thought an automobile that could be wound up and made to run around the floor would be better. At last, both consulted Nan, because they're thinking of things they would like. "Oh, Mama doesn't want a doll," said Nan, "and she ought to have a real automobile, not a tin one." "Can't buy a real automobile," said Freddie. "Real automobiles cost $10 or more." "Then I'll tell you what to do," went on Nan. "You buy her a little bottle of cologne, Freddie, and you, Flossie, can buy her a nice handkerchief." "I'll buy her a big bottle of cologne," said Freddie. "That big," and he placed his hands about a foot apart. "And I'll get a real lace handkerchief," said Flossie, because they have no concept of what the value of things are. You'll have to do the best you can," said practical Nan, and so it was agreed. When they left home, each child had the money tucked away in a pocket. They went in the family sleigh with Sam as a driver. The first stop was at Mr. Ringsley's shoe store, where Mrs. Bobbsey purchased each of the twins a pair of shoes. It may be added here that the broken window glass has long since been replaced by the shoe dealer, and his show window looked as attractive as ever. "I heard you had a window broken not long ago," said Mrs. Bobbsey when paying for her purchases. "Yes, two bad boys broke the window," answered the shoe dealer. "Who were they?" "I couldn't find out, but perhaps I'll learn some day, and then I mean to have them arrested," said Mr. Ringley. "The broken glass ruined several pairs of shoes that were in the window," and then he turned away to wait on another customer. Yeah, falling glass can make cut marks on things. It's also where you don't want it to land on you. Soon the department store was reached, and Mrs. Bobbsey let Freddie and Flossie take their time in looking into the several windows. One was full of dolls, which made the little girl gape in wonder and delight. "Oh, Mamma, what a flock of dolls!" she cried. "Must be about 10 millions of them, don't you think so?" "Hardly that many, Flossie, but there are a good many." "Oh, Mamma, what pretty dresses! I wish I had that doll with the pink silk and the big lace hat," added the little girl. "Do you think that is the nicest, Flossie?" Indeed I do," answered the little miss. "It's too lovely for anything. Can't we get it and take it home?" "No, dear, but you had better ask Santa Claus to send it to you," continued her mother with a smile. Some wooden soldiers and building blocks caught Freddie's eye, and for the time being his favourite fire engines were forgotten. "I want wooden soldiers," he said. "Can set 'em up in a row with the swordman in front and the man with the drum." "Perhaps Santa Claus will bring you some soldiers in your stocking, Freddie." "Stocking ain't big enough. Want big ones like that," and he pointed with his chubby hand. "Well, let us wait and see what Santa Claus can do," said Mrs. Bobbsey. Inside the store was a candy counter near the doorway, and there was no peace for Mrs. Bobbsey until she had purchased some chocolate drops for Flossie and a long peppermint cane. Shame, chubby hand. Yeah. Okay, will do. Here we go. We're drinking the shame bottle. Even in the era of my kids being small, it was the done thing to make sure that your kids were chubby, because it was said that they would have a good start in life if they weren't too skinny. I think it was taken a little bit far just after that. It was like people would say, "Oh, it's baby fat, they will get rid of it." Not necessarily. The deposit of those fat cells is still there, even if they do actually thin down a bit. So when your body decides it's going to save fat, it fills them up. Yes. Anyway, that's what I've heard anyway. Where do we get to? chocolate drops for Flossie and a long peppermint cane for Freddie. Then they walked around, down one aisle and up another, admiring the many things which were displayed. Bert said they had a lavatory, said Freddie presently. Mama, I want to go in the lavatory. Lavatory? Repeated Mrs. Bobbsey with a puzzled look. Why, Freddie, what do you mean? He means the stairs that run up and down on a big rope, put in Flossie. Oh, the elevator, said Mother. Very well, you shall both ride in the elevator. It was a great sport to ride to the third story of the store, although the swift way in which the elevator moved made the twins gasp a little. Let us go down again, said Freddie. It's ever so much nicer than climbing the stairs. I wish to make a few purchases first, answered the mother. Answered Mother, not the mother. It's really weird. We had this last time too. I just wanted to see what the chapter was called again. Freddie loses himself. I can see what's going to happen. Can you? Come on, resume. Thank you. Sorry, there's a button there that says resume and I was tapping it and it wasn't doing it. She had come to buy a rug for the front hallway, and while she was busy in the rug and carpet department, she allowed the twins to look at a number of toys which were located at the other end of the floor. For a while, Freddie and Flossie kept close together, for there was quite a crowd present, and they felt a little afraid. But then Flossie discovered a counter where all sorts of things for dolls were on sale. And she lingered there to look at the dresses and hats and underwear and shoes and stockings and chairs and trunks, combs and brushes and other goods. Oh my, I must have some of those things for my dolls, she said half aloud. There was a trunk she thought perfectly lovely, and it was marked 39 cents. Not so very much, she thought. When Freddie got around to where the elevator was, it was just coming up again with another load of people. Yeah, it's not the one with the stairs, that's an escalator. As he had not seen it go down, he concluded that he must go down by way of the stairs if he wanted another ride. He doesn't realize you can go down on it. I'll get a ride all by myself, he thought, and as quickly as he could, he slipped down first one pair of stairs, then another to the ground floor of the store. Then he saw another stairs, and soon was in the basement of the department store. Here was a hardware department with a great number of heavy toys, and soon he was looking at a circular railroad track upon which ran a real locomotive and 3 cars. This was certainly a wonderful toy, and Freddie could not get his eyes off it. In moving around the basement of the store, Freddie grew hopelessly mixed up, and when he started to look for the elevator or the stairs, he walked to the storage room. He was too timid to ask his way out, and soon found himself among great rows of boxes and barrels. Then he made a turn or two and found himself in another room filled with empty boxes and casks, some partly filled with straw and Excelsior. Let's find out what that is, if it does. Sounds like a packing material. The size of type between that and that size. No, it's not the size of type. The ultimate? I don't know. Loftier yet higher, ever upward, which goes with Goriki's translation of the ultimate. But it's something that's filled with straw and Excelsior, Stanley's favourite word. Yes. There was a big wooden door to this room, and while he was inside, the door shut with a bang, and the catch fell into place. Oh dear, I wish I was back with Mama, he thought, and drew a long and exceedingly sober breath. I don't like it here at all. Just then a little black kitten came toward him and brushed up affectionately. Freddie caught the kitten and sat down for a moment to pet it. He now felt sleepy, and in a few minutes his eyes closed and his head began to nod. Then in a minute more he went sound asleep, which is good for him not panicking. But it's not good for finding him, because if someone's calling him, he won't hear an answer. Long before this happened, Mrs. Bobbsey found Flossie and asked her where Freddie was. The little girl could not tell, and the mother began a diligent search. Just she would be fine, and she began. The floor walkers in the big store aided her, but it was of no avail. Freddie could not be found, and soon it was time to close up the establishment for the day. Almost frantic with fear, Stanley claimed he invented it, like a lot of things, but it comes from the Henry Wadsworth Longfellow poem of the same name. Yes, but I think in this use it means something completely different. Unfortunately, I don't know what that is. Almost frantic with fear, Mrs. Bobbsey telephoned to her husband, telling him what had occurred, and asked him what had best be done. Chapter 10. I won't leave you worrying, okay? Lost and found. When Freddie woke up, excuse me. When Freddie woke up, all was very, very dark around him. At first he thought he was at home, and he called out for somebody to pull up the curtain that he might see, but nobody answered him, and all he heard was a strange purring close to his ear. He put up his hand and touched the little black kitten which was lying close to his face. He had tumbled back in the straw, and this had proved a comfortable couch upon which to nap. "Oh, dear me, I'll have to get back to Mamma," he murmured. "I'll have to get back to Mamma," he murmured, as he struggled up and rubbed his eyes. "What can make it so awful dark?" Yeah, Freudian slip. Is the cat a murderer in disguise? They ought to light the gas. Nobody can buy things when it's so dark as this. The darkness did not please him, and he was glad to have the black kitten for a companion. Problem is, he's in the dark and he can't see it. With the kitten in his arms, he rose to his feet and walked a few steps. Bump! He went into a big box. Then he went in another direction and stumbled over a barrel. "Mama, Mama!" he cried out. "Mama, where are you?" No answer came back to this call, and his own voice sounded so odd to him that he soon stopped. He hugged the kitten tighter than ever. Poor kitten. He was now greatly frightened, and it was all he could do to keep back the tears. He knew it must be night, and that the great store must be closed up. "They've all gone home and left me here alone," he thought. "Oh, what shall I do?" He knew the night was generally very long, and he did not wish to remain in the big lonely building until morning. Still hugging the kitten, he felt his way round until he reached the big wooden door. The catch came open with ease, and once more he found himself in that part of the basement used for hardware and large mechanical toys. But the toy locomotive had ceased to run, and all was very silent. Only a single gas jet flickered overhead. This is back in the days of gas lighting provided by gas. But the toy, only a single gas jet flickered overhead, and this cast fantastic shadows, which made the little boy think of ghosts and hobgoblins. Fantastic as in fantasy-like, not, wow, that's amazing. Fantastic. It's funny how words morph a little over time. One mechanical toy had a very large head on it, and this seemed to grin and laugh at him as he looked at it. "Mama!" he screamed again. "Oh, Mama, why don't you come?" He listened, and presently he heard footsteps overhead. "Who's there?" came the heavy voice of a man. The voice sounded so unnatural that Freddie was afraid to answer. Perhaps the man might be a burglar who came to rob the store. "I say, who's there?" repeated the voice. "Answer me!" There was a minute of silence, and then Freddie heard the footsteps coming slowly down the stairs. The man had a lantern in one hand and a club in the other. He's probably a night watchman. Not knowing what else to do, Freddie crouched behind a counter. His heart beat loudly, and he had dim visions of burglars who might have entered the big store to rob it. If he was discovered, there was no telling what such burglars might do to him. Poor little 4-year-old. "Must have been the cat," murmured the man on the stairs. He reached the basement floor and swung the lantern over his head. "Here, kitty, kitty, kitty," he called. "Meow," came from the black kitten, which was still in Freddie's arms. Then the man looked in that direction. "Hello," he exclaimed, startled in amazement. "What are you doing here?" Are you alone? Oh, please, I want my mamma, cried Freddie. You want your mamma? Repeated the man. Say, he went on suddenly, are you the kid that got lost this afternoon, youngster? I guess I did get lost, answered Freddie. He saw that the man had a kindly face, and this made him a bit braver. I walked around and sat down over there in the straw and went to sleep. Well, I never, said the man. And have you been down here ever since? Yes, sir, but I don't want to stay. I want to go home. All right, you shall go. But this beats me. Are you the man who owns the store? Questioned Freddie curiously. At this the man laughed. No, I wish I did. I'm the night watchman. Let me see, what is your name? Freddie Bobbsey. My papa owns the lumber yard. Oh, yes, I remember now. Well, Freddie, I reckon your papa will come soon after you. All of 'em are half crazy, wondering what has become of you. The night watchman led the way to the first floor of the department store, and Freddie followed, still clutching the black kitten, which seemed well content to remain with him. I'll telephone to your papa, said the watchman, and going into one of the offices, he rang the bell and called up the number of the Bobbsey residence. Thank goodness they have already invented telephones at this stage. In the meantime, Mrs. Bobbsey and the others of the family were almost frantic with grief and alarm. Mr. Bobbsey had notified the police, and the town had been searched thoroughly for some trace of the missing boy. Perhaps they've stolen Freddie away, said Nan, with tears starting to her eyes. Some gypsies were in town telling fortunes. I heard one of the girls at school tell about it. Oh, the bad gypsies, said Flossie, and gave a shudder. The idea that Freddie might have been carried off by the gypsies was truly terrifying, and that was a common thought that people had, is that gypsies would steal children. Maybe very occasionally some did. I don't think it was a commonly done thing, though. I think it was just one of those prejudices of the era. The thing is, gypsies, if they're living a travelling lifestyle, they're not going to want law enforcement after them for any reason. They want to have the freedom to travel, so they're not going to do lots of things that jeopardize it. Stealing items, small items, yes, because there's not big punishments associated with it. There's small punishments. But stealing a child, that's one which is going to get you in a lot of trouble. So self-preservation is a big factor when it comes to abiding by the law, really, especially back in the day. And I think a lot of lawmaking was actually based on that. Right. Mr. Bobbsey had been out a dozen times to the police headquarters and to the lakefront. A report had come in that a boy looking like Freddie had been seen on the ice early in the evening, and he did not know but what the little fellow might have wandered in that direction. It's an odd phrasing to me. And he did not know but what the... When the telephone bell rang, Mr. Bobbsey had just come in from another fruitless search. Both he and his wife ran to the telephone. Hello, came over the wire. Is this Mr. Bobbsey's house? It is, answered the gentleman quickly. Should be that gentleman quickly. What do you want? Have you any news? I've found your little boy, sir, came back the reply, and he's safe and sound with me. And who are you? The night watchman at the department store. He went to sleep here, that is all. At this news, all were overjoyed. Please someone phone the police so that they know not to keep searching. Let me speak to him, said Mrs. Bobbsey eagerly. Freddie, dear, are you there? She asked. Yes, Mamma, answered Freddie into the telephone, and I want to come home. You shall, dear. Papa shall come for you at once. Oh, he's found, shrieked Nan. Aren't you glad, Bert? Of course I am, answered Bert, but I can't understand how he happened to go to sleep in such a lively store as that. He must have walked around until he got tired, replied Nan. You know Freddie can drop off to sleep very quickly when he gets tired. As soon as possible, Mr. Bobbsey drove around to the department store in his sleigh. The watchman and Freddie were on the lookout for him, the little boy with the kitten still in his arms. Oh, Papa, cried Freddie, I'm so glad you have come. I don't want to go to sleep here again. The watchman's story was soon told, and Mr. Bobbsey made him happy by presenting him with a $2 bill. What's that worth? Anyone? 1904, $2 US. Actually, we did have a command for that. And I can't remember what it was called. Currency? Yes, there it is. Now, ignore the fact that it says 2013 in it. If you use that link, it will let you put in the date that you're starting at, 1904, and the value, and it will convert it to today's date value, roughly. So somebody can do that if they want. Let's carry on. $2 bill. So the night watchman's happy. The little chap would have been even more lonely if it hadn't been for the kitten, said the man. He wanted to keep the thing, so I told him to do it. And I'm going to, said Freddie proudly. It's just the dearest kitten in the world. And keep the kitten he did. As soon as it grew to be a big fat cat, and soon it grew to be a big fat cat and was called Snoop. By the time home was reached, Freddie was sleepy again, but he speedily woke up when his mamma and the others embraced him, and then he had to tell the story of his adventure from end to end. I do not know that I shall take you with me again, said Mrs. Bobbsey. You have given us all a great scare. Oh, mamma, I won't leave you like that again, cried Freddie quickly. Don't like to be in the dark at all, he added. Hi, Boyd. It's great to have you here. We had your tip video today. It was lovely. Oh, it must have been awful, said Flossie. Didn't you see any ghosts? Barrels of them, said Freddie, nodding his head sleepily, but they didn't touch me. Yes, they were sleepy just like me. And then he dropped off and had to be put in bed, and that was the end of this strange happening. So I think what we're going to find in these books, in the earlier books, is we're going to have chapters that are focused on the older twins and chapters that are focused on the younger twins. It may get mixed up a little bit more as we go through and the writers develop the skills for it, but at this stage they seem to be not exactly one chapter per age group, but clusters through the book focused on different ages. Chapter 11, The Cruise of the Icebird. The building of the ice boat by Bert and Charlie Mason interested Nan almost as much as it did the boys, and nearly every afternoon she went down to the lumber yard to see how the work was getting along. Mr. Bobbsey had given Bert just the right kind of lumber and had a man at the sawmill saw the sticks and boards to a proper size. This is something you can do if you have the right tools. Having grown up in a builder's home where we had tools, yes. Although we didn't use the power tools, we used the hand tools because safety. He also gave his son some ropes and a pair of old iron runners from a discarded sleigh, so that all Charlie had to provide was the bedsheet already mentioned for a sail. So basically the Bobbseys have provided everything except the sheet. The two boys worked with a will, and by Thursday evening had the ice boat completed. They christened the craft the Icebird, and Bert insisted upon it that his father come and see her. You have certainly done very well, said Mr. Bobbsey. This looks as if you were cut out for a builder, Bert. Well, I'd like to build big houses and ships, first rate, answered Bert. The sail was rigged with the help of an old sailor who lived down by the lake shore, and on Friday afternoon Bert and Charlie took a short trip. The Icebird behaved handsomely, much to the boys' satisfaction. She's a dandy, cried Bert. How she can whiz before the wind. You must take me out soon, said Nan. I will, answered Bert. The chance to go out with Bert came sooner than expected. On Monday morning, Mrs. Mason made up her mind to pay a distant relative a visit and asked Charlie if he wished to go along. The boy wanted to see his cousins very much and said yes, and thus the ice boat was left in Bert's sole charge. I'll take you out on Monday afternoon after school, said Bert to his twin sister. Good, cried Nan. Let us go directly school is out, so as to have some good long rides. Let's stay away from the middle or the southern end of the lake, eh? 4 o'clock in the afternoon found them at the lake shore. It was a cloudy day with a fair breeze blowing across the lake. Now you sit right there, said Bert as he pointed to a seat in the back of the boat, and hold on tight or you'll be thrown overboard. Nan took the seat mentioned, and her twin brother began to hoist the mainsail of the Icebird. It ran up easily, and caught by the wind, the craft began to skim over the surface of the lake like a thing of life. "Oh, but this is lovely," cried Nan gleefully. "How fast the boat spins along." "I wish there were more ice boats around," answered Bert. "We might have a race." "Oh, it is pleasure enough just to sail around," said Nan. Many other boys and girls wished a ride on the ice boat, and in the end Bert carried a dozen or more across the lake and back. It was rather hard work tacking against the wind, but the old sailor had taught him how it might be done, and he got along fairly well. When the ice boat got stuck, all the boys and girls got off and helped push the craft along. So tacking is normal sailing is really, really easy. If you've got the wind coming from here and your boat is going in the same direction, the wind just pushes it along. If the wind is coming from here and you want to go in that direction, it doesn't really work well. So what you do is you go across the wind and you keep going, you turn around at each end, and you actually end up working your way up towards where the wind is coming from. It takes a lot longer and it is more hard work, but you can still go towards where the wind is, unlike if you are just being pushed along by it. It involves a lot of science. If you are a very practical person and also very observant, you can learn how to do that just by being on a boat where that is happening, without having to understand all the science. There's a lot of aspects of sailing, the dynamics of wind or air across the surface of a sail, and what that does with movement when you have an object that sail is fastened to. And it is easier for the thing that the sail is fastened to go in one direction. So having runners on a sled, it will only want to go forwards or backwards. It won't want to go sideways. Same with a boat. Boats tend to be long-shaped, and they have a bit that pokes down into the water that helps them to only want to go forwards and backwards. You can steer them, but they don't slide sideways quite as easily. And so that helps. So you've got the wind pushing one way, you've got the sail adjusting how that applies pressure to the actual boat moving along, and that applies to ice boats too. "It's almost supper time," said Nan as the whistle at the sawmill blew for 6 o'clock. "We'll have to go home soon, Bert." "Oh, let us take one more trip," pleaded her twin brother. Foreshadowing. This sense of just one more. I'll do one last job, says the thief. In movies, that sort of thing. "Let us take one more trip," pleaded her twin brother. The other boys and girls had gone, which means they're out there on their own. There's no one else who can call for help if anything happens. And they were left alone. To please Bert, Nan consented, and their course was changed so that the Icebird might move down the lake instead of across. No. They were told not to go down the lake. It had grown dark, and the stars which might have shone in the sky were hidden by heavy clouds, so they're not even going to get a sense of direction from any light in the sky. "Not too far now," said Nan. The wind had veered around and was blowing directly down the lake. So almost before they knew it, the Icebird was flying along at a tremendous rate of speed. Nan had to hold on tight for fear of falling off, and had to hold her hat too for fear that would be blown away. "Oh, Bert, this is too fast," she gasped, catching her breath. "It's just glorious, Nan," he cried. "Just hold on, it won't hurt you." But how are we to get back?" Bert had not thought of that, and at that question his face fell a little. "Oh, we'll get back somehow," he said evasively. "You might have to walk and leave the boat behind." "You'd better turn around now. Let's just go a little bit further, Nan," he pleaded. When at last he started to turn back, he found himself unable to do so. The wind was blowing fiercely, and the Icebird swept on before it in spite of all he could do. And the thing to do if you've got the wind pushing you in it and you can't turn around to go into it is you veer off. You head in a slightly different direction so the wind is pushing you still in that downward away from it, but across as well. It's like if you get caught in a current and a rip tide at a beach, you don't try and swim straight across it to get out. You swim with it, but at a bit of an angle, and the movement helps you instead of you getting tired out, and you get out of the rip a lot quicker than if you're trying to swim directly out of it. Yeah. Things that you learn where you live by the water, the sea. Bert, oh, Bert, why won't you turn around? Screamed Nan. She had to scream in order to make herself heard. I can't, he faltered. She won't come round. Nan was very much frightened, and it must be confessed that Bert was frightened too. He hauled on the sail and on the steering gear, and at last the Icebird swung partly round, but instead of returning up the lake, the craft headed for the western shore. In a few minutes they struck some lumpy ice and some snow and dirt, and both were thrown out at full length, while the Icebird was tipped up on one side. Bert picked himself up without difficulty and then went to Nan's aid. She lay deep in the snow. Oh, we've had snow twice. Snow and dirt. And deep in the snow. But fortunately was not hurt. Both gazed at the tipped-up iceboat in very great dismay. Bert, whatever shall we do now? Asked Nan, after a spell of silence. We'll never get home at all. What, your legs don't work? Oh, yes, we shall, he said bravely enough, but with a sinking heart. We've got to get home, you know. But the iceboat is upset and it's so dark I can't see a thing. I think I can right the iceboat. Anyway, I can try. Doing his best to appear brave, Bert tried to shove the Icebird over to her original position, but the craft was too heavy for him, and twice she fell back, the second time coming close, just smashing his toes. Look out or you'll hurt your foot, cried Nan. Let me help you. Between them they presently got the craft right side up, but now the wind was blowing directly from the lake, so to get the Icebird out on the ice again was beyond them. Okay, so that means they were stuck against the bank on the western shore. Every time they shoved the craft out, the wind drove her back. Oh dear, I guess we have to stay here after all, sighed Bert at last. Not stay here all night, I hope, gasped Nan. That would be worse than to stay in the store as Freddie did. It began to snow. At first the flakes were but few, but soon they came down thicker and thicker, blotting out the already darkened landscape. Let us walk home, said Nan. That will be better than staying out here in the snowstorm. It's a long walk, if only we had brought our skates. But alas, neither had thought to bring skates, and both pairs were in the office at the lumber yard. I don't think we'd better walk home over the ice, said Bert, after another pause. We may get all turned around and lost. Let us walk over to the Hopedale Road. So if they're on the west, that means he knows roughly where they are. You've got the lake here, and over here is the western shore. They've been blown across, down the lake and across to the western shore. So apparently the Hopedale Road is just off the western shore, I guess. I wish we had some crullers or something, said Nan, who was growing hungry. So cruller? Some sort of food? A French cruller donut at one of the donut fast food places is really yummy if they're fresh, just warm out of the ovens, the cooking vats and icing. Really yummy when they're fresh, not so good when they're not. But I don't know if that's what she means here, crullers. They had each had a cruller on leaving home, but had eaten them up before embarking on the iceboat voyage. Please don't speak of them, Nan. You make me feel awfully hollow, came from her twin brother. Just writing it down in case. And the way he said this was so comical it made her laugh in spite of her trouble. The laugh put them both in better spirits, and leaving the Icebird where she lay, they set off through the snow in the direction of the road which ran from Lakeport to the village of Hopedale, 6 miles away. It will take us over an hour to get home, said Nan, if they can stay on the road once they find it. Yes, and I suppose we'll catch it for being late, grumbled Bert. Perhaps we won't get any supper. Oh, I know Mamma won't scold us after she finds out why we were late, Bert. They had to cross a pasture, and climb a fence before the road was reached. Here was an old cowshed, and they stood in the shelter of this for a moment, out of the way of the wind and driving snow. "Hark!" cried Bert. I don't think anybody ever has said hark. In real life. You know, it's like, what? "Hark!" cried Bert as they were on the point of continuing their journey. "It's a dog," answered Nan. "Oh, Bert, he's coming this way. Perhaps he's savage." "Yeah, but perhaps he's a farmer's dog." They listened and could hear the dog plainly. He was barking furiously and coming toward them as fast as he could travel. Soon they made out his black form looming into view through the falling snow. End of chapter. Next chapter. Chapter 12. T-I-G-E. Tige? I don't know. Playing theatre. Tige, I'm going to think it is. Short for tiger. Nan dearly loved the dogs with which she was well acquainted, but she was in great terror of strange animals, especially if they barked loudly and showed a disposition to bite. I don't know anyone who likes them biting. Bert, what shall we do?" she gasped as she clung to her twin brother's arm. Bert hardly knew what to say, for he himself did not like a biting dog. He looked around for a stick or a stone and espied the doorway to the cowshed. It was open. "Let us get into the shed," he said quickly. "Perhaps we can close the door and keep the dog out." Into the shed sprang Nan and her twin brother after her. The dog was almost upon them when Bert banged the door in its face. At once the animal stopped short and began to bark more furiously than ever. Do you think he could get in at the window?" faltered Nan. She was so scared she could scarcely speak. "I don't know, I'm sure." "If you'll stand by the door, Nan, I'll try to guard the window." Nan threw her form against the door and held it as hard as if a giant were outside trying to force it in, the door in. Bert felt around the empty shed and picked up the handle of a broken spade. With this in hand, he stalked over to the one little window which was opposite the door. "Are there any cows here?" asked Nan. It was so dark she could see next to nothing. "You should be able to hear them or feel the warmth in the space if there are cows there, although you might not hear them if the wind is loud enough even when you're inside the building." "No cows here, I guess," answered Bert. "This building is almost ready to tumble down." The dog outside was barking still. Once in a while he would stop to catch his breath, and then he would continue as loudly as ever. He scratched at the door with his paw, which made Nan shiver from head to feet. "He's trying to work his way in," she cried. "If he does that, I'll hit him with this," answered her twin brother, and brandished the spade handle over his head. "Which she wouldn't be able to see. It's dark, remember?" He watched the window closely and wondered what they had best do if the dog leapt straight through and attacked them in the dark. The barking continued for over a quarter of an hour. To Nan and Bert it seemed like hours and hours. Then came a call from a distance. "Hi, Tige, what's the matter? Have you spotted a tramp in the shed?" "Help! Help!" called out Bert. "Call off your dog." "A tramp, sure enough," said the man who was coming toward the cowshed. "I'm not a tramp," answered Bert, "and my sister isn't a tramp either." "What's that? You got your sister with you? Open the door." "Please, we're afraid of the dog," came from Nan. "He came after us and we ran into the shed for shelter." "Oh, that's it." The farmer gave a short laugh. "Well, you needn't be scared. Tige won't hurt you none." "Are you sure of that?" put in Bert. "He seems to be very savage." "I won't let him touch you." Thus assured, Nan opened the door and followed Bert outside. At a word from the farmer, Tige stopped barking and began to wag his tail. So he's been trained to guard the place. "That dog wouldn't hurt nobody, excepting he was attacked or if a person tried to get in my house," said Farmer Sanborn. "He's a very nice fellow, he is, and likes boys and girls first rate, don't you, Tige?" And the dog wagged his tail harder than ever, as if he understood every word. I was so scared," said Nan. "May I ask what you be a-doing on the road all alone and in the snowstorm?" "We're going home," answered Bert, and then explained how they had been ice boating and what happened on the lake. I do declare, said Farmer Sandborn. So the boat up and ran away with you, did she? Contrary critter, eh? Then he began to laugh. Who be you? I'm Bert Bobbsey, and this is my twin sister Nan. Oh, yes, I know now. You're one pair of the Bobbsey Twins, and they call 'em over to Lakeport. I've heard Sari speak of you. Sari's me wife. The farmer ran his hand through his thick beard. You can't tramp home in this storm. Oh, we must get home, said Nan. What will Mamma say? She'll think we're killed or drowned or something, and she isn't over the scare she got when Freddie was lost. I'll take you back to town in my sleigh, said Farmer Sandborn. I was going to town for some groceries tomorrow morning, but I might just as well go now while the roads are open. They'll be all closed again by daylight if the storm keeps up. He led the way down the road to his house, and they were glad enough to follow. By Nan's side walked Tige, and he licked her hand just to show that he wanted to make friends with her. I guess you're a good dog after all, said she, patting his head, but you did give me such a scare. Both of the twins were very cold and glad enough to warm themselves by the kitchen fire, while the farmer hitched up his horse. The farmer's wife wished to give them supper, but this they declined, saying they would get supper at home, but she made each eat a big cookie, which tasted exceedingly good. I'm going to guess that Farmer Sandborn does not have a telephone in his house. Otherwise they would have told us that Mother was phoned so that she wouldn't panic. Soon Farmer Sandborn drove around to the door with his sleigh, and in they piled on the soft straw with several robes to keep them warm. Then the horse set off on a brisk trot for town. It's nice enough sleigh ride for anybody, it's a nice enough sleigh ride for anybody, declared Bert, and yet they did not enjoy it very much for fear of what would happen to them when they got home. Where in the world have you been? Exclaimed Mrs. Bobbsey as she ran to the door to let them in. We've been looking all over for you. Your papa was afraid you'd been drowned on the lake. An evening dinner was in waiting for them, and sitting down to satisfy their hunger, they told their story, to which all of the others listened with much interest. You can be thankful you weren't blown clear to the other end of the lake, said Mr. Bobbsey. I think after this you'd better leave ice boating alone. I know I shall, declared Nan. Oh, I'll be more careful, Papa, after this, pleaded Bert. You know I promised to go out again with Charlie. Well, then, don't go when the wind is strong. And also don't go when it gets the light starts leaving the sky. And Bert promised. I'm so glad the dog didn't bite you, said little Flossie. He might have given you hydropics. Flossie meant hydrophobics. Means hydrophobics, put in Freddie. Ain't no hydropics, is there, Bert? Oh, Freddie, you mean hydrophobia, burst out Nan with a laugh. No, I mean hydrophobics, insisted the little fellow. That's what Dinah calls them anyway. That would be rabies. Hydrophobics. Hydrophobia. Rabies. After the adventure on the ice boat, matters ran smoothly with the Bobbsey twins for 2 weeks and more. There was a great deal of snow, and as a consequence, Freddie and Flossie stayed home from school most of the time. Nan and Bert also remained home 2 separate days, and during those days all of the children had great fun in the attic, where there was a large storeroom filled with all sorts of things. Let us play theatre, said Nan, who had been to several exhibitions while at home and while visiting. All right, said Bert, falling in with the plan at once. Let's play Rip Van Winkle. I can be Rip and you can be the loving wife, and Flossie and Freddie can be the children. Across the storeroom a rope was placed, and on this they hung a sliding curtain made out of a discarded blanket. Then at one side they arranged chairs, and Nan and Flossie brought out their dolls to be the audience. They won't clap their hands very much, said Bert, but then they won't make any disturbance either. The performance was a great success. It was their own version of Rip Van Winkle, and Bert, as old Rip, did many funny things which caused Freddie and Flossie to roar with laughter. Nan, as the loving wife, recited a piece called Doughnuts and Daisies, pretending to be working around the kitchen in the meantime. The climax was reached when Bert tried to imitate a thunderstorm in the mountains and pulled over a big trunk full of old clothes and some window screens standing in a corner. It was quite thunderous. The show broke up in a hurry, and when Mrs. Bobbsey appeared on the scene wanting to know what the noise meant, all the actors in the doll audience were out of sight. But later, when Mamma went below again, Bert and Nan sneaked back and put both the trunk and the screens in their proper places. A little bit naughty. End of the chapter. Oh, goodness. We're getting there with the snow water bottle, aren't we? Chapter 13, Nan's first cake baking. Let's, cried Nan. Yes, let's, echoed Flossie. I want to help too, put in Freddie. Want to make a cake all by mine own self. Freddie can make a little, sorry, I was just looking at the way those words are. Freddie can make a little cake while we make a big one, said Bert. It was on an afternoon, just a week. So hang on. So this is the first time Nan's made a cake and suddenly the 4-year-olds get to do it too? How come Nan wasn't allowed to do it when she was 4? I don't know what the story is here. We'll just read it. It was on an afternoon just a week before Christmas, and Mrs. Bobbsey had gone out to do some shopping. Dinah was also... The kids are going to do baking on their own. No supervision. Dinah was also away on a visit to some relatives, so the children had the house all to themselves. It was Bert who spoke about cake making first. Odd that a boy should think of it, wasn't it? But Bert was very fond of cake and did quite some grumbling when none was to be had. It ought to be easy to make a nice big plain cake, said Bert. I've seen Dinah do it lots of times. She just mixes up her milk and eggs and butter and sifts in the flour, and there you are. Much you know about it, declared Nan. If it isn't just put together right, it will be as heavy as lead. We might take the recipe out of Mamma's cookbook, went on Bert, and then the cry went up, with which I have opened this chapter. Let's. The twins were soon in the kitchen, which Dinah had left spotlessly clean and in perfect order, and it will not be when she gets back. We mustn't make a muss, warned Nan. If we do, Dinah will never forgive us. As if we couldn't clean it up again, said Bert loftily. Yeah, let's see what really happens when we get to the end of this chapter. I have thoughts about this. Over the kitchen table they spread some old newspapers, and then Nan brought forth the big bowl in which her mother or the cook usually mixed the cake batter. Bert, you get the milk and sugar, said Nan, and began to roll up her sleeves. Flossie, you can get the butter. She would have told Freddie to get something too, just to start them all to work, but Freddie was out of sight. He'd gone into the pantry where the flour barrel stood. He did not know that Nan intended to use the prepared flour which was on the shelf. Okay, so prepared flour is probably flour that's been sifted a certain way, because if it's just been shipped, it can actually compact quite a bit. The door worked on a spring, so it closed behind him, shutting him out from the sight of the others. I wonder if there's a doorknob in there. Taking off the cover of the barrel, Freddie looked inside. The barrel was almost empty, only a few inches of flour remaining at the bottom. There was a flour scoop in the barrel, but he could reach neither this nor the flour itself. I'll have to stand on the bench, he said to himself, and pulled the bench into position. Then he stood on it and bent down into the barrel as far as possible. The others were working in the kitchen when they heard a strange thump and then a spluttering yell. It's Freddie, said Nan. Bert, go and see what he's doing in the pantry. Bert ran to the pantry door and pulled it open. A strange sight met his gaze. Out of the top of the barrel stuck Freddie's legs with a cloud of flour dust rising around them. From the bottom of the barrel came a succession of coughs, sneezes, and yells for help. Freddie has fallen into the flour barrel, he cried, and lost no time in catching his brother by the feet and pulling him out. It was hard work, and in the midst of it, the flour barrel fell over on its side, scattering the flour over the pantry and partly on the kitchen floor. Oh, roared Freddie as soon as he could catch his breath. "Oh my, oh my! Oh, Freddie, why did you go into the barrel?" exclaimed Nan, wiping off her hands and running to him. "Did you ever see such a sight before?" Freddie was digging at the flour in his eyes. He was white from head to feet and coughing and spluttering. "Wait, I'll get the whisk broom," said Bert, and ran for it. "Brush off his hair first, and then I'll wipe his face," came from Nan. "Here's the wash rag," put in little Flossie, and catching it up, wringing wet, she began to wipe off Freddie's face before anybody could stop her. "Flossie, Flossie, you mustn't do that," said Bert. "Don't you see you're making paste of the flour?" The wet flour speedily became a dough on Freddie's face and neck, and he yelled louder than ever. The wash rag was put away, and regardless of her own clean clothes, Flossie started to scrape the dough off until both Nan and Bert made her stop. Very 4-year-old. "I'll dust him good first," said Bert, and began such a vigorous use of the whisk broom that everybody started to sneeze. "Oh, Bert, not so hard," said Nan, and ran to open the back door. "Bring him here." Poor Freddie had a lump of dough in his left ear and was trying in vain to get it out with one hand while rubbing his eyes with the other. Nan brushed his face with care and even wiped off the end of his tongue and got the lump out of his ear. In the meantime, Flossie started to set the flour barrel up once more. "Don't touch the barrel, Flossie," called Bert. "You keep away or you'll be as dirty as Freddie." It was very hard work to get Freddie's clothes even half clean, and some of the flour refused to budge from his hair. By the time he was made half presentable once more, the kitchen was in a mess from end to end. "What are you doing near the flour barrel?" asked Nan. "What were you doing, sorry?" "Going to get flour for the cake." "But we don't want that kind of flour, Freddie. We want this," and she brought forth the package. "Dinah uses this," answered the little boy. "Yes, for bread. But we're not going to make bread. You'd better sit down and watch Bert and me work, and you and Flossie had better do the same." "Ain't no chairs to sit on," said Freddie, after looking round, "all full of flour." "I declare we forgot to dust the chairs," answered Nan. "Bert, will you clean them?" Now, the different flours. Bread flour has a higher gluten content in it compared with cake flour. You have high-grade flour and you have standard flour. One of them is good for making cakes. They rise well and all that sort of stuff. And one of them is good for using with yeast and letting it rise first before you bake it. Cakes, you don't let them rise first. You actually put the rising agent in, and it's a chemical reaction that happens with the heat and the liquid and the flour when it's in the oven, and that's what makes them rise. Whereas bread, you put the yeast in and all the other ingredients it needs, and then the gluten, which is actually a normal component of wheat, but wheat flour that's used for bread has a higher amount of it in, is like glue. That's why it's called gluten. And it helps everything to stick together so that when the bread rises up, you can have a lump this big that you're using to make a loaf of bread this big, and it will hold together and stay well, and then you put it in the oven and bake it. It doesn't hold together and stay well when it's soft and doughy. If you push it, it'll squish down and you'll break all the bubbles that are inside it. But the gluten in it helps it to rise. That sort of flour is not good for cakes, especially sponge-style cakes. The chemistry involved is very, very different. And so in the old days, you used to very specifically have different sorts of flour that you used depending on what you were making. Now, I don't bake cakes, so I don't buy cake flour. I don't buy flour that's suitable for cakes. And it may be at this era, I don't know, that the cake flour actually already has the raising agent in it, which would have been, these days we use baking powder, but in the old days it would have been bicarbonate of soda or baking soda, and probably, I think, cream of tartar. Both of them are powders, and you use a certain amount. And you mix them in with the rest of the dry ingredients, your flour and your salt, sugar, any of those things. And you will sift them so that those rising agents are mixed fully through the rest of the flour. because otherwise you get parts of the cake that are going to rise well and parts that aren't. So that's why she's saying we don't use that flour, and he says, but that's the one Dinah uses, and she says, no, that's the one Dinah uses for bread. Okay, so there you know. Educated. Come here and get educated. By the way, if anyone's unfamiliar, I only read public domain books. And if you want to know more about a group of people who read public domain books, down in my panels is a section about codex. And if you are interested in the group or becoming part of it because you are interested or you already read public domain books on Twitch or anywhere else online, please come and talk to us in the Codex Discord server or message Koriki or myself, because we are both members of the Codex. There you go. You can even whisper us here on Twitch. My direct messages are not open on Discord, but if I know that someone wants to contact me and I know who they are and what it's about, I will open up my messages so that they can send one through, and then I'll shut the messages again so that I can have a conversation with that person, but I don't have lots of spammers getting hold of me. And I do that because on Discord I have had a lot of spammers. Do not need that. Yes, and you need to look after your security on Discord as well as on Twitch. Right, let's carry on. I declare we forgot to dust the chairs, answered Nan. Bert, will you clean them? Bert did so, and Freddie and Flossie sat down to watch the process of cake making, being assured that they should have the first slices if the cake was a success. Nan had watched cake making many times, so she knew exactly how to go to work. Bert was a good helper, and soon the batter was ready for the oven. The fire had been started up, and now Nan put the batter in the cake tin. I don't know if she understands what temperature it needs to be, but let's read on and find out. The children waited impatiently while the cake was baking. Nan gave Freddie another cleaning, and Bert cleaned up the pantry and the kitchen floor. The flour had made a dreadful mess, and the cleaning process was only half successful. Yes, flour gets everywhere, and it's hard to clean up. Most time for that cake to be done, isn't it? Questioned Bert after a quarter of an hour had passed. Not quite, answered Nan. Usually more like half an hour, and it depends on how heavy it is. If it's a really heavy cake, like a fruit cake, it'd be more like an hour or longer. And it depends on how hot your oven is. Presently she opened the oven door and tried the cake by sticking a broom wisp in it, so it's a piece of thin straw. The flour was just a bit sticky, and she left the cake in a little longer. When it came out, it certainly looked very nice. The top was a golden brown and had raised beautifully. The cake was about a foot in diameter, and Nan was justly proud of it. Wished you'd put raisins in it, said Freddie. Raisins are beautiful. No, I like plain cake best, said Bert. I like chocolate, said Flossie. And I like layer cake with currant jelly in between, said Nan. But I didn't dare to open any jelly without asking Mamma. Let's surprise her with the cake, said Bert. Want cake now, protested Freddie. Don't want to wait at all. But he was persuaded to wait, and the cake was hidden away in the dining room closet until the hour for the evening meal. When Dinah came home, she noticed the mussed-up kitchen, but Nan begged of her to keep quiet. All right, honey, said the cook, but I know you's been a baking. I can smell it in the air. When they sat down to the evening meal, all of the children produced the cake in great triumph. What's going to have gone wrong with it? Oh, Nan, a real cake, cried Mrs. Bobbsey. How nice it looks. We've got some real housekeepers around here, said Mr. Bobbsey. I'll have to try that, sure. When the cake was cut, all ate liberally of it. They declared it just right and said it could not be better. Even Dinah was tickled. Couldn't do no better myself, she declared. May by me by Dinah will be cut out of a job with Miss Nana doing the baking. Did the writer live through the Civil War? I'm wondering something like that. It certainly feels like it. And I'm not reading it quite as racistly languaged as it originally was. No, Dinah, you can stay even if I do the baking, answered Nan, and went to bed feeling very happy. There you go. That's the end of the chapter. And the reason I'm pausing there is because I was expecting that they had accidentally used salt instead of sugar, or that they hadn't remembered to put the sugar in, or something like that that made it inedible. It is not normal to have success at baking your first cake unless you are doing it under a lot of supervision. Yes, it's quite an intense thing to do. Right, one more chapter. Sorry, nose is itchy and I'm rearranging the stud in my nose because it turns around sometimes when I'm talking and then it tickles the side of my nose, or it looks like I've got something hanging out my nose, which you don't need. Chapter 14, Christmas. As the time for Christmas drew shorter, all of the Bobbsey twins wondered what Santa Claus would bring them and what they would receive from their relatives at a distance. Freddie and Flossie had made out long lists of the things they hoped to get. Freddie wished a fireman's suit with a real trumpet, a railroad track with a locomotive that could go, and some building blocks and picture books. Flossie craved more dolls and dolls' dresses, a real trunk with a lock, fancy slippers, a pair of rubber boots, and some big card games. All I want is a set of furs, said Nan. Not once, but many times. A beautiful brown set, just like Mamma's. And all I want is some good storybooks, some games, a new pocket knife, a big wagon, and some money, said Bert. Picture books were pretty expensive back then, pretty sure. Yes, they were. The coloured inks were very expensive to print with if you were doing coloured stuff, and the method for making the illustrations to print them was incredibly labour intensive and not as high a priority as type. Textbooks, books that were text only, because you sell a lot more for the adult market than what you do for children's market. They were definitely expensive. Mercy, you don't want much, Bert, cried Nan. How much money? $1,000? I want money too, piped up Freddie. Want to start a bank account just like Papa's. By dint of hard saving, Bert and Nan had accumulated $2.10 between them. Oh, sorry, I've got an itchy head. It's just suddenly itchy. If anyone's wondering, yeah, this is quite normal for me to suddenly have itches, hence me rubbing my nose and stuff like that. ADHD and autism, my senses are turned up to about 11 all the time. Like I've always got somewhere that's itchy. And it's not that there's actually something wrong, it's just that I am so aware of it, I can't tune it out most of the time. And to calm it down, if I itch it, then it means that it will kind of settle down a bit and then I'll be able to carry on with what I'm doing. It was hard going at school, I can tell you that. Okay, they'd saved $2.10 between them, while Freddie and Flossie had each 35 cents. There was a wonderful lot of planning between the twins, and all put their money together to buy Papa and Mamma, or Papa and Mama, I don't know, and Dinah and Sam some Christmas presents. Yay, they're thinking of their staff. Freddie and Flossie had not yet purchased the cologne and handkerchief before mentioned, and now it was decided to get Mr. Bobbsey a new cravat. That's like, you wear it like a tie, but it's actually a silk scarf that you wrap and tie together and have it around your neck. Mrs. Bobbsey, a flower in a pot. Dinah, a fancy apron, and Sam, a pair of gloves. Nan and Bert made the purchases, which, after being duly inspected by all, were hidden away in the garret storeroom. As the time for Christmas came on, Flossie and Freddie grew very anxious, wanting to know if Santa Claus would be sure to come. Flossie inspected the chimneys several times. It's a dreadfully small place and very dirty, said she. I'm afraid Santa Claus won't be able to get down with a very big load, and some of his things will get all mussed up. Santa Claus can spirit himself wherever he wants to, dear, said Mrs. Bobbsey with a quiet smile. Apparently 1,000 and 1,900 would be $25,715.82 in 2015. Latest that the calculator tracked to. Thank you. Well done. What would $2 have been It won't be anywhere near as much, but I'm just intrigued. Santa Claus can spirit himself wherever he wants to, dear, said Mrs. Bobbsey with a quiet smile. What do you mean by spirit himself, Mamma? Never mind now, Flossie. You'll understand that when you grow older. Does Mamma mean a ghost? Said Flossie. Oh dear. Now they're going to be scared of Santa Claus because he's a ghost? Probably not a good way to phrase it. Magically, he can magically get things. $51.43. So $51.43 in 2015 is what the night watchman at the shop was given as a thank you for finding and looking after Freddie until his dad came and picked him up. Does Mama mean a ghost? No, Flossie, she means the part of a person that lives but can't be seen. Because Flossie had asked Nan afterwards. Oh, I know, cried the child, brightening. It's just like when a person's good, then they say it's the spirit of goodness within him. I guess it's the good spirit of Santa Claus that can't be seen, but we can feel it, can't we? And that's what's best. On the day before Christmas, the sitting room door was closed and locked so that none of the children might enter the room. Freddie was very anxious to look through the keyhole, but Bert told him that wouldn't be fair, so he stayed away. I'm surprised parents haven't put something in the keyhole, like a key, from the other side so that children can't see through, or tape over the back of it. We are to hang up our stockings tonight, said Nan, and Mamma says we must go to bed early too. That's to give Santa Claus a chance to get around, said Freddie. Papa said so. He said Santa Claus has his hands full, more than full, with so many boys and girls all over the world to take care of. Santa Claus must be a twin just like you and me, said Flossie. Maybe he's a twin 100 times over. 2 cents is equivalent to about 51 cents. Yeah, that makes sense now. At this, Freddie roared, what a funny twin that would be, with each one having the same name. The stockings were hung up with great care. No, I'm not going to burst into rhyme. And Freddie and Flossie made up their minds to stay awake and watch Santa Claus at his work. Won't say a word when he comes, said the little boy. Just peek out at him from under the covers. But alas, long before Santa Claus paid his visit, that Christmas Eve, both Freddie and Flossie were in dreamland, and so were Bert and Nan. It was Flossie who was the first awake in the morning. For the moment after she opened her eyes and sat up, she could not remember why she had awakened thus early. But it was for some reason. She was sure of that. Merry Christmas! She burst out all at once, and the cry awoke Freddie. Merry Christmas! He repeated. Merry Christmas, everybody! He roared out at the top of his lungs. The last call awoke Nan and Bert, and before long all were scrambling out to see what the stockings might contain. Oh! I've got a doll! Shrieked Flossie, and brought forth a wonderful affair of paper. I have a jumping jack, came from Freddie, and he began to work the toy up and down in a most comical fashion. A jumping jack, they have the body, they've got the arms and the legs, and you pull a string that comes out from inside it, and it makes the arms and legs flail up and down. Yeah, there you go. If it's what I think it is. It's not a jack-in-the-box, it's a jumping jack. There was some small gift for everybody, and several apples and oranges besides, and quantities of nuts in the stockings. I must talk to Santa Claus about this, because I think Santa Claus in our house keeps forgetting the nuts. We don't do the apples because most of the family don't actually enjoy apples, but we often do other fruit. It's funny how Santa Claus knows these things for everybody. We must get the presents for the others, whispered Nan to Bert and the smaller twins, and soon all were dressed and bringing the things down from the storeroom. It was a happy party that gathered in the dining room. Merry Christmas, said everybody to everybody else, and then Mr. Bobbsey, who was in the sitting room, blew a horn and opened the folding doors. How about the pear apples? Oh, nashi pears? Is that the one you mean? Where they are the shape of an apple, but they're a pear. Very crisp and yum. Yeah. When they first came out in New Zealand, they were super expensive. I think we actually grow them in New Zealand now as well. Yeah, they are very nice. I know one of our family members actually really likes normal pears too. But it depends on the variety. Pears can vary a lot. Their texture, because they can be quite gritty, their texture and also their skin can be incredibly different between them. In some ways, a lot more so than apples, the variety differences. Whereas apples tend to be the colour and the flavour is the variety effect. Mr. Bobbsey, who was in the sitting room, blew a horn and opened the folding doors. There on a large side stand rested a beautiful Christmas tree, loaded down with pretty ornaments and apples and candies and with many prettily coloured candles. All around the bottom of the tree were 4 heaps of presents, one for each of the children. "Oh, look at the big doll!" screamed Flossie and caught the present up in her arms and kissed it. "And look at my fireman's suit!" roared Freddie, and then seeing a trumpet he took it up and bellowed, "Bring up the engine! Play away lively there!" just like a real fireman. Didn't know they did that, but okay. Bert had his books and other things, and under them was hidden a real bank book showing that they had been deposited to his credit, $10 in the Lakeport Savings Bank. There you go. So that would be $10. If $2 was 51, well, let's just say 50, $10 would be $50 times 5, $250. I guess that's pretty good for a start in 2015. Nan had a similar bank book, and of these the twins were very, very proud. So it doesn't sound like their presents were wrapped. They were just there. Bert felt as if he was truly getting to be quite a businessman. "Oh, oh," cried Nan as she opened a big box that was at the bottom of her pile of presents, and then the tears of joy stood in her eyes as she brought forth the hoped-for set of furs. They were beautiful and so soft she could not resist brushing them against her cheek over and over again. Now, you've got to keep in mind that furs were accepted back then as a normal thing. Yeah, we don't do them now because of animal cruelty, etc., etc. But also back in the day, furs were, yes, they were ornamental, but they were also winter warmth. That was how they first started using them. "Oh, Mamma, I think they're too lovely for anything," she said, rushing up and kissing her parent. "I'm sure no girl ever had such a nice set of furs before." Now, set, I would guess that means a coat, maybe a stole. I'm not sure, like a fur stole, a muff to keep the hands warm, and maybe something like a hat or equivalent. It's talking about a set. I don't know what a set of furs are. I'm guessing. "You must try to keep them nice, Nan," answered the mother. What's wrong with saying answered her mother? Why is it as answered the mother? Shame. But I'm going to make up for it by having some L&P. Yay, it gets it right. "I shall take the very best care of them," said Nan, and my readers may be sure that she did. "And now we have something for you too," said Bert, and brought out the various articles. Flossie gave their mamma her present, and Freddie gave Papa what was coming to him. Then Nan gave Dinah the fancy apron, and Bert took Sam the new gloves. "Well, this is truly a surprise," cried Mr. Bobbsey as he inspected the cravat. "It is just what I need." "And this flower is beautiful," said Mrs. Bobbsey as she smelt the potted plant. "It will bloom a long while, I am sure." Dinah was tickled over the apron and Sam with his gloves. "You children am the sweetest in the world," said the cook. Them gloves are the very thing I need to keep my hands warm, came from Sam. It was fully an hour before the children felt like sitting down to breakfast. Before they began the repast, Mr. Bobbsey brought forth the family Bible and read the wonderful story of Christ's birth to them and asked the blessing. All were almost too excited to speak. After breakfast, all must go out and show their presents to their friends and see what the friends had received. It was truly a happy time. They all went coasting after lunch, sledding. "The expressman is coming," cried Bert a little later, and sure enough he drove up to the Bobbsey house with 2 boxes. We would say the courier. One was from their Uncle Daniel Bobbsey, who lived at Meadowbrook, and the other from their Uncle William Minturn, who lived at Ocean Cliff. I was just thinking, if we're talking about an uncle whose surname is Bobbsey, are we also going to have one whose surname is not Bobbsey, because Mother was not a Bobbsey before she got married? Nowadays, you have to pay $100 for the express guy. Yeah, and he definitely doesn't deliver, well, over here, on Christmas Day. Any public holiday, we don't have any of that sort of service at all. Because, I mean, the workers want those days as holidays as well. Fair enough. Right. One from their Uncle William Minturn, who lived at Ocean Cliff. Meadowbrook and Ocean Cliff. Descriptive places. "More presents," cried Nan, and she was right. Uncles and aunts had each spent some. We'll try that one again, folks. Uncles and aunts had sent each something, and the twins were made happier than ever. Hey. "Oh, but Christmas is just the best day in the whole year," said Bert that evening after the eventful day was over. "Wish Christmas would come every week," said Freddie. "Wouldn't it be beautiful?" "If it did, I'm afraid the presents wouldn't reach," said Mrs. Bobbsey, and then took him and Flossie off to bed. Yeah, they wouldn't. For a start, it wouldn't be special anymore. And for second, you'd run out of money for getting presents. Their words tumble like gymnasts of varying talent. They were tumbling like very poor gymnasts today. Right, and that's the end of today's reading. Once again, don't forget, if you are interested in being part of Codex, this is my logo for Codex up here. It's a bit harder to see, and the mouse is covered by the date. I need to drop that date panel down a bit. Then please speak to Goriki or myself. There is a command that you can find out more, but the information that's currently there for it is not necessarily the best. We want to tidy it up and redo it. That's why we don't post it every time. But the link there, the first link there is the Codex Stream Team. There's a possibility of joining the Codex Stream Team. You will need to abide by our adherence to copyright law, which means public domain only, or stuff that you have express permission to read. And also putting in an effort to keep your stream space safe from bots and scammers and spammers and that sort of thing. So it's being proactive about that. And if you don't know much about that, you can always ask and we can help with that. Thanks so much for your reading. It was wonderful. I enjoyed it so much, says Weird World Studios. Lovely. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Oh, by the way, the second link is for the Discord server. You can join it. We haven't quite yet set up the full questionnaire, wait for permission, blah, blah, blah thing. But there are questions there to help guide you into becoming part of the community. And if you are someone who just likes having public domain books read, you don't have to be a reader. You don't have to be someone who reads on Twitch to join the Twitch Discord server. You can be one of the people who are just supportive of what we do and talk about it over there. It's been really quiet for a long time. It'd be good to get some more people in there. It's lovely to have you all here. Thank you so much for keeping me company and finding out more about these Bobbsey twins. They're up to all sorts of stuff. I'm surprised Mother still has colour in her hair. I'm surprised she's not gone grey. With a little bit of the stress with what might be happening with the kids. Anyway, we'll see you all next time, which is in 2 days' time. hopefully I will have some news on the craft project for when I do my anniversary of my first stream, which is obviously very, very delayed. I'm hoping to be able to give you some news on that. In the meantime,